Guys, on Tech Review by Irdi today, Cars Can Go Fast, we're going to change out the rear rotors and brake pads on this 2014 Dodge Charger RT. So stay tuned. First thing we want to do is loosen the lug nuts before jacking it up and take off the wheel. Now, once we got the wheel off, the next thing we want to do is make sure we're supported with jack stand and a jack because this car is heavy. We're going to get back to the back caliper bolt bracket bolts. These are 18 millimeters on this car, so just remember that. And what we want to do is break them loose. But first, we're going to use some penetrating oil to get that done. Okay, we're going to let that seep into the crevices of the bolt cap so that it can do its job. The other thing we're going to do while this penetrating oil is soaking through the big bolts is we're going to go and loosen the cap for the power or the brake fluid. And the brake fluid reservoir is right under this cap. And we're going to loosen that up because you want it to breathe as we're pushing the caliper pistons back in. Next, all we're doing is taking the C-clamp and we're going to press this caliper back in using the whole piston, and you'll see it opening up, and this will allow us to slip off the brake pad and the caliper properly. There we go. That's it. Easy peasy. Don't make it too hard. You don't have to remove the whole thing. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to break these loose. Penetrating oil's been in there for about 10 minutes, and we're going to use a rubber mallet and a closed end 18 millimeter wrench. And I would recommend using either a closed end wrench or an impact wrench on this kind of torque. These backs are torqued up to 85 pounds of pressure. There we go. There we go, folks. All right, so now we've got the bolts out, and they haven't been out since the get-go, so we'll make sure they're cleaned off here, and then I'm going to use some lubricant for them as we put them back in. But anyways, what we want to do is make sure that we either hang the caliper or put it in a place that's not going to fall off this rotor. The second thing is make sure your emergency brake is off, because we're going to pull the rotor off and the e-brakes on the inside, the pads, and they're going to be tightened if you do, and you're going to have a hard time getting them off. There we go. And those little things are awesome, so get those little clamps if you can. Okay, now this is going to be really hard to get off. What we're going to do is bounce it a couple times. Alright guys, so we got the rotor off, and one of the things you want to do is make sure that the other side is jacked up and the wheel is off the ground so this can spin. If this doesn't spin, you're never going to get that rotor off, because what you got to do is pound off one side, rotate, pound off, rotate, and you're going to do this for a good like 10-15 minutes, because this e-brake is going to be pushing against the inside wall. If I show you real quick here, okay, it's ridden pretty hard on the inside and it was seized up in there. So again, what I'm going to tell you is rotate this, but because this is on the ground on the other side, the posi traction will not let it spin right. So get the other wheel off, and as you can see how it spins on that side? That's so you can spin this side. All right, and you're going to pound from the open side. That's why this is open for that and the caliper. Is you're going to pound, 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 rotate, pound, 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 rotate, pound, 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 rotate, and use a rubber mallet, not a metal mallet or metal hammer. But right now, what we're going to do is I just pulled the plug on the tumbler or the star adjuster here, if you want to call it that, so that we can get into this and actually adjust it properly once we get the rotor back on. We want to make sure that we get this inside brake lining tight, and then you're going to pull back almost 6 times for adjustment. Now my brake pads are still okay. What I will do is replace these in the near future, but right now we're just doing the rotor and the caliper, and since we got everything off, it'll be easy. Now once we get the whole thing adjusted, and basically you want to get it so that the rotor is tight going on, pull it back off the best you can, and then take the star adjuster and bring it back about 6 points. That'll get the rotor its clearance needed so that it can get around the brake pads and not jam up. And we're going to go ahead and take the old pads out. Now we're going to go ahead and use the same sliders that were on here, but we definitely need to clean those up a bit because they are bad. Now we got to grease them up with new grease. These are very important. A lot of people don't use these sliders. They are basically angled a certain way so that the earlobes will collapse back out. You don't want to seize up while you're driving, and this will seize up your brake pads. Alright guys, so we actually took the bracket off. We greased up the pins, we greased up the slide hardware, and we're ready to go ahead and put our caliper back on. Alright, so we've got the caliper back on here. I had to close the piston a little bit more. Go ahead and tighten this up. Now again, once you get the brackets back on here, it's going to be 85 pounds of torque for this car, even for the SE and the SXT. I'm not too positive about the SRTs, but or the Brembo ones. Now just a few other things you want to do is make sure that you're going to be spraying this down with some brake fluid, getting all of the oils off from the transportation in factory, because you definitely need to do that. And you'll want to go out and burn these in with the new pads. You're going to marry the two metals together, or ceramic and metal if you will in this case here. And we've adjusted our emergency brake as well, so we should be good to go. I'm going to turn this real quick just to get a little bit of brake fluid around and get back. And basically just check your fluids again, and you'll be starting your vehicle up, pumping and priming it, and you're on your way. Guys, well, another Cars and Go Fast from Tech Review by Irdi. I'm going to finish up the other side, take it for a spin, burn those brakes in. You'll want to take this thing up to about 65 to 80 miles an hour, and about 10 times, rinse and repeat. Just slow down, don't come to a complete stop, because you'll deposit the metals on the rotor. You'll want to slow down to about 10 to 15 miles an hour, go back up to 60 to 80, and bring it back down about 10 times. Marry these two pads on each side of the rotor. That's basically about it. So if you have any questions or concerns, just leave a comment down below. Remember, share, like, and subscribe. We'll see you later. We'll have more for you from Tech Review by Irdi.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.